I've always been like a visual person, a hands-on person, so digging my face into a book and tests and, you name it, the nuances of school was not for me. And obviously I learned through trial and error and a number of failures that obviously in order to make one thing work, I obviously had to make that connection to the classroom.
All these little things that you learn when you're in the moment, man, you can get down on yourself. But in the future, you look back and think, okay, well, grew from that.
There's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more riding on it. In fact, one of my mentors said, when you're in a family business, when the business isn't okay, the family's not okay, and vice versa when it's good.
And I think that, all boils down to, again, perspective on it and just sort of your mentality as a business and our leadership. What can we take from this? What can we build off of it? Obviously, how can we work not to make those mistakes again? Of course, that's sort of paramount. I think it really is important to be a little bit more raw and open with failures.
Welcome to Live with Sondra. We're living in a time where technology is everywhere. AI, screens, simulation, digital overlays, but something interesting is happening inside the attraction industry. Guests are craving something real. Not just something they can see on a screen, something they can feel. Physical immersion, engineering that becomes experience. What makes today's conversation especially interesting to me is that we are talking about a family business that has spent 3 decades building immersive experiences around the world. From underwater walking experiences to an actual car that drives underwater, today's guests are pushing the boundaries of what immersive entertainment can look like. Today, we're going beneath the surface. Today, I'm joined by 2 leaders from Subsea Systems. This is a company that has spent more than 3 decades designing underwater attractions around the world. You may know them for innovations like Sea Trek, which allows guests to walk along the ocean floor, or the Aquatic Car, an underwater car experience that feels almost impossible until you see it. Joining me today are Hannah DeBee, Vice President of Marketing and Communications, the storyteller, and the brand strategist behind many of the most recognizable experiences, and Keenan Mayfield, Vice President of Operations, the person responsible for installing and operating these complex experiences across the globe. Hannah, Keenan, welcome to Live with Sondra.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Pleasure
being
to
here.
be here.
We're excited for this.
Yeah.
Different format for us, so we're excited.
Awesome. I'm so glad. I love having you here in the studio. And, I know we've had a conversation before. I'm really excited to have you here today.
Be careful what you wish for.
And it's different face-to-face versus through the computer screen. So
for sure. Well, I really want to start with kind of your origin story. I know for you guys, Subsea Systems, 30-year-old, said a little bit plus family business. Yeah. And I mean, you guys are doing really cool things in the attraction space, but just so our audience has an idea of who you guys are, I'd love to hear that from you.
Yeah, so we're a family business, 2 generations. Our dad started the company back in 1985, and he and his business partners at the time had this dream that they wanted to build submarines. And so they ended up building semi-submersibles, so half below water, half above water. And then from there, they built 24 vessels that we sold around the world. Some are still, actually a lot are still in operation today, which is pretty incredible.
Wow.
From there, we just went on to just follow our passion, and that's taking people underwater. So they developed SNUBA. We went into Sea Trek, which is our helmet diving system that started in '99. We now produce, originally it was called FunCat, now it's called Solar Cat. They're these little solar electrically powered boats. And from there, we built out to Aquatic Car, which is our underwater ride system that we're super excited. We'll open the very first one this year. We have VR snorkeling. So all of our product line is intended to take people underwater and just make that underwater world accessible.
I love that. And we've talked before. I have not done much underwater. I'm super excited to try with you guys. Try with you guys.
You're going to change that.
Yes, we need to change that.
The next live show will be us in Sea Trek helmets underwater with...
I think you might be on to something. So I'm just
Well, I want to kind of go back to this family business because, as you know, I'm also in a family business that I run with my sister. And I know that there's a lot of misconception, and I'm super excited about having this conversation on the show for sure today because so many people think about family business as one thing, but I think when you're in a family business, you know it's something different than maybe what the outside world thinks.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, there's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more riding on it. In fact, one of my mentors said to me one time that when you're in a family business, when the business isn't okay, the family's not okay, and vice versa when it's good, right? So I'd love to maybe hear from you guys together or individually because I'm curious because I know this was your second generation.
Yes.
But at what point did this become a decision for you to be in the business versus this? I mean, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just something that you always knew growing up in the business.
I think you just hit it spot on. I mean, we grew up in the business. I grew up with a scuba regulator in my mouth in the bathtub. And so we were always just in and out of the water and traveling with our dad because he traveled a lot in those early days to set up new Sea Trek locations. And so occasionally we would tag along and it was just a fun environment. So as you got older and realized, wait, this is the job that our dad does, that sounds like a cool profession.
Yeah.
It just was so enticing. And I knew early on that I wanted to work for the business. So I dedicated my college career to international business. Spanish was my minor, really focused on the needs that the company had, and came into the business right after I graduated college. My brothers, on the other hand, it took a little bit longer for them to find their path, but they eventually found their way back to the company.
There's the picture perfect version. Now you want to hear the more roughed up version. You can get my take. No, I think my path was I guess you could say less traveled, a little bit more meandering here, a little bit more meandering there, based off of my interests and whatever was my flavor of the week per se at the time. And Hannah, to her credit, was a lot more focused, like she said. I mean, she's always kind of been our golden child. Who would think the middle child would be a golden child too?
It's because I'm the only girl.
Yeah. And she's a redhead, so she stands out. But yeah, I always had a passion for sports, team sports. Rugby was my sport, and that's kind of what I guess you could say I used as my vessel to carry me through school.
Sure.
I just was not. School wasn't my thing. I've always been like a visual person, a hands-on person. So digging my face into a book and tests and you name it, the nuances of school was not for me. And obviously, I learned. As we'll probably talk about through trial and error and a number of failures, that obviously in order to make one thing work, which was rugby, I obviously had to make that connection to the classroom. So through that and getting myself through school and being able to do what I wanted to do obviously taught me a lot. But at the same time, I always had this draw to my family. I mean, family to me and to us is number one. That's absolute paramount to us. Our relationship with our family is, we get told this often, we're different. Our family is just, we have a different relationship. Our connection with each other through personally and through our business is unique, which, I wear as a huge compliment, obviously. But yeah, I just always drawn to my family, and obviously our family is our business in so many ways. So I think that's just was such a draw for me back to that. And then like Hannah said, it is our kind of our sense of being in a way, growing up literally immersed in water. I mean, we have photos of my dad with a dive cylinder and a regulator in our bathtub. We're,
Wow.
3, 6, 8 years old, whatever it was. And so we've just been so heavily literally immersed in the business through our whole life, running around the shop, doing different odds and ends. I mean, we were sweeping floors and cleaning toilets from a really young age. So I think that always stuck with me, whether I had some straying passions or things I wanted to do. I think it always was calling me.
Interject because Keenan, bless you.
No,
Our dad
come
always
on,
said,
feel free.
you need to go work for someone else before you come and work for the company because you just need some experience with another manager.
I needed some discipline and some direction.
Yeah, and it wasn't going to come. I don't think you could respect it straight from her dad at the time.
Nope, not at all. Nailed it on the
He
head.
eventually found his way back, and we're super proud of how far he's grown.
Stubborn mule.
Well, you know what I love about what you mentioned is, and correct me because I don't know the official title, global operations.
What? Operations.
Awesome. Well, I too I'm a college dropout. Although one of my guests told me I'm not allowed to call it that, but I love calling it that.
Yeah, call it that.
I'm gonna call it that.
It's a badge of honor anymore.
But you know, like in operations, I think there is something to be said about people who, for me, being in operations all these years, I feel like there's something to be said about that mind that maybe doesn't do as well in school. We don't have to get into that part, but you know,
okay.
I can relate to what you're saying,
Yeah.
right? For sure. And I didn't care for tests. I didn't like the deadlines, you know, and not that I don't like deadlines at work because they're super important at work, but it's just different.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know,
Yeah.
right? Hitting these things because it's goal oriented.
Yes.
And probably similar in your sporting.
Yes. Absolutely.
Playing with teams, it's team oriented.
Yeah. To that aspect is my family is my team now.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good way to put it.
you know, for so long after college and after rugby was over there, I sort of yearned for that team sort of, you know, our 5 a.m. wake ups for workouts and everything. I mean, I wouldn't call carried, but I mean, you're carrying your team, you're carrying each other to meet those goals, those deadlines, to be accountable, to show up. And so there was a long time, I would say, after college, where my frontal lobe was still developing. I was like, I was just yearning for that team mentality, that brotherhood. And I think it took me a long time to sort of realize that I had that already in my family too. So showing up for each other, working together like a team as a family, you know, it gives me at least and us that same sort of sense of purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you kind of nailed it with the ops mentality.
Yeah.
I think I've always just, like I said, visual, hands-on, communicating with people. I think one thing, as I'm gabbing right now, is we always joke that our dad just has this
Gift to gab.
inalienable ability to communicate with virtually anyone, literally anyone. He can make a friend out of any stranger on the airplane, an airport, or anywhere in the world, really, for that matter. And I think we all were blessed. Maybe not Kyle.
For sure.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I love you, brother, if you're listening. But yeah, I think we all have a personal ability to communicate with most people.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what's so neat about a family, right?
Yeah.
In business, working with my sister, and you guys can't see Leona back here, but she's back here. And it's funny that you said she had to go. We did make her to go. We didn't make her, but she went and got another job before she came on board too. Probably for very similar reasons, because it is, you know, when you grow up in the business, my kids growing up in the business and this industry, they know a lot about what we do. They probably know my business better than most people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They've seen the good, the bad, the ugly parts of the business, the ride that I'm on or that my team's on. Because as you know, we're
The stress.
Yeah.
The early mornings. The late
right.
nights,
The
all
late
of it,
nights,
yeah.
all of it. You get to you can't hide that from your family.
Yeah.
But I often talk to Tiffany about when people ask us, how do you work together? And I love, she always says, well, we have like family business and then we have business. It's just different. We know
yeah.
what's what, right? But also the incredible support system that you have in business if you're working with your family. Because you also have somebody, if I'm in a meeting, hey, Tiff, can you go get the kids? You know, I can't ask anybody else to do that, right? But she's aligned with me. She's always willing to, or vice versa. We help each other
Wouldn't
out
have
in
that
ways.
You
in
just-
a traditional
Yeah, and
job.
you just hit to a big
Yeah.
talking point for us.
We
as
all
well.
have 2 kids and school age kids. My older brother and I both have school age kids. And yeah, we're always helping each other out. Can you watch the kids? I'm in a meeting. Can you help pick up? Whatever it is.
Can you occupy them at the shop while they're running around with their heads cut
Right,
off?
yeah.
Yeah, let me take this call.
Yeah.
You make sure they make it to school on time or
Although I will say there was one time we didn't fully watch the kids because my oldest and my brother's youngest were in the conference room. We thought they were set up with a show and totally occupied. We came up later to find that they had taken our dry erase board markers and drawn over all of the walls in our conference room.
And come to find out, that doesn't come off very easily. And to this day, there's still some of that left
drawings up there.
on the
I
walls in our
love that
conference
character,
room.
though. I have some stories of my kids. They didn't write on the walls at work, at least. Yeah. They did at home. But there would be times where I would come in and there would be messages from kids on the whiteboard in a conference room.
Don't mind that at all.
I was like, oh, okay. But it's nice to have the kids around in the business too. And I don't know if you guys ever seen the picture that I have this one favorite picture. I've got a kid on my back at IAPA.
Yep. And, I've seen that.
And I always brought them with me. I mean, I usually had help.
Yeah.
So I could do meetings and get away when I needed to. But, I love being with my family. Yes. And I love the work that I do. And it's like to be able to marry those two things, I'm sure is really nice.
Yeah. And I think you hit on, a lot of people ask us, how do you work with your family? And our natural response is, well, we love our family. We love being together. Yeah. We see each other during the work week and then we'll hang out on the weekends too.
Right.
And that's not always the family dynamic, which we feel very fortunate, just as you and Tiffany and the rest of the family, I'm sure, feel just you love being around each other and it's a benefit.
We know it's unique. I mean, obviously, you hear horror stories. You hear about families with struggle and that just don't have the same dynamic. So I think we always kind of keep that in mind. We definitely don't take it for granted ever. But then at the same time, kind of like you said, just with working with family, but at the same time, fostering and nurturing that sort of relationship, some people they just flat out don't understand.
Yeah.
And until you are immersed in it, both on the business side of it and just the familial and the relationship side of it, it's hard to fully comprehend how someone would want to spend every day at work with their sibling and be totally fine on the weekend with hooking up with our kids and everybody hanging out, having a barbecue and some beers or something.
And we've talked about this before. We've been more intentional in the past couple of years about really protecting the family dynamic, and like we discussed, the succession plan and getting it on paper so that we avoid, any potential, hopefully, fallout in the future, trying to set ourselves up with a good foundation.
Well, so that actually kind of brings me to one of my questions I had for you guys, because I know for us, it is about kind of aligning our lives with the same similar goals or whatever that legacy for our family looks like. Is there something like that you guys have? You talk about succession plan for the family, but what is it that maybe aligns you all together?
I think first and foremost is that we do want a legacy business. We're not here to grow it and then sell it and walk away. And so we're definitely building something that has longevity, and hopefully one of our kids or multiple of generation 3 will want to go into the business. So we're aligned there, which is a great goal that we all have in mind. And then just, I think, on our values for family and for business, they bleed over into business.
Yeah, you nailed that one.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's how we are too.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what about you guys?
Yeah, kind of similar. We have very similar, when we think about like what the future looks like for us, we're definitely aligned on what that is. And so everything else kind of just goes into that plan, right? And I would even go as far as to say, because I know you also do have people working in your business and on your team that aren't family like we do. How do they, mold into that or fall into that in a way that also gets them where they want to go?
Yeah. I mean, we say they're extended family.
Yeah.
I hope they feel that. But we definitely strive to allow opportunities for growth. And so try to support staff in different ways. If they want to pursue some sort of skill, then feeling that they can come to us and we can support them. One example would be, we've been encouraging some of our staff, if they want to get welding certified, then let us pay for that education.
Yeah, if you're listening to this right now, you better get it together.
So just trying to have open communication and allow for that growth, because we want to maintain our employees. We have
retention.
Great employees, and so if we can make sure they're happy, we're happy, then it's a win-win.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success, I would say, with retention. I think it's something that I personally think about and maybe not necessarily worry about, but I mean, I always feel like I care a lot about what other people think to a fault sometimes. And I think just making sure that dynamic sometimes is comfortable for them, because we are a close family. And as much as we consider, our employees as an extension of our family, obviously they're not our family.
Right.
So, doing everything that we can to kind of bring them in on as much as we can. And like Hannah said, incorporating them into different opportunities for growth, and different, positives that they can look to and room for growth, of course. I think we're always looking for any avenue, obviously for retention first and foremost, but just to also truly make them feel like they're a part of that familial dynamic.
Yeah.
And
I think a big challenge, and maybe I don't know if you've experienced this, is making sure that they feel comfortable enough to speak to us, even if it's about a family member. Like, hey, look, I had this, I didn't like how this happened, or whatever it may be. I want them, and I've had situations where, they can come to me and talk to me about, hey, I don't like it when Keenan did this, or I didn't.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about this. And those are tough conversations to have. I could put myself in an employee's shoes and be concerned about bringing that up to one of the family members.
Sure.
But making sure those communication lines are open, it's really important.
We're going to take a quick moment because conversations like this just don't happen by accident. Across the world, Water Technology Inc. is helping operators turn vision into fully realized aquatic experiences. From early concept and master planning to design, engineering, and project execution, their team brings together architects, engineers, and designers to build environments that are intentional, immersive, and built to perform. What I love most about WTI is this: they don't just design water parks, they design how people experience them. Every detail is thought through, from guest flow to water quality to the emotional connection a space creates, because great experiences don't happen by accident, they're engineered. So whether you're building something new or reimagined, this level of thinking is what separates good from unforgettable. You can learn more about WTI at WTIworld.com. All right, let's get back into it. Now, do you guys have spouses in the family or in the business?
Not in the business.
Okay.
No.
Because that was a weird one when we brought my husband in,
Yeah.
and
Did you guys talk about it before?
well, so I had already been on my way with Gatemaster and Tiffany as well. So the years, it's hard to remember, but I think I'm 25. Tiff's probably been in the business close to 20. And we had to talk about it, but it just in similar ways to the team that we have. How does this person work into this legacy plan that we have, or to this bigger vision that we have for the future? And I think it's really interesting, especially with my husband, because we're aligned on where he and I want to go, right? And then to see that mold into the business as well. I mean, he and I have a couple of other companies, so we have his, mine, and ours companies. So we do all of those things, Gatemaster being the one that I do with Tiffany. And then I just lucky to have him because he had experience in things that we didn't have in the business.
Right.
And so it was nice to have somebody come into the business that came with that expertise, could share it with us, and then kind of help us get better. So I think a lot of times for me, whether it's a married person on the team or just somebody that we've hired to be on the team, it's interesting because I saw somebody post a thing on LinkedIn the other day about how come we don't tell our teammates we love them more? Like the people that we're working
all the time at work.
I mean, we're hugs and
so happy.
yes,
Because
we say it all
probably
the
too often
I
we're hugs and
sometimes
love.
even cry. And I know I try not to have judgment about it because I know that in the typical corporate world, maybe that's not acceptable.
Right.
But at least it's real.
Yes. It's real life.
Why would anyone want anything other than that?
Right.
Yeah.
Like to what you just said, the typical corporate environment, corporate world. I mean, that might as well be dang going.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean, nobody wants anything more than a real life experience when they're at their job. And I feel like if you can't be real with someone and be your raw self, obviously to an extent, of course.
Sure.
Yes.
But at the same time, I feel like that will bring the best out in your employees.
Yeah.
And them seeing maybe a little bit more raw and natural side of you just creates that much more of that personable connection, probably.
Yeah.
And that we're
And
all
let's-
human beings.
Yeah, I literally was just going to say that. Even their boss,
challenges.
even the CEO
Yeah.
of the company, they have that real side just like you do. We go through the same struggles as people.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, just adding to that personal side of that with your employees just draws that connection in that much more too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've never had to navigate the spousal side of it though. So it is interesting to kind of hear that side of it.
Actually, in our succession planning,
Yes.
right, we opted not to have spouses join the company. We just thought it was more clear cut that way.
Buy sell agreement
Yeah.
if there would ever be some sort of or death or loss. But yeah, I mean, we're also fortunate that they're
They all have very
each of our
successful
spouses are in
careers. Yeah.
more of the medical field and have clear cut direction on what they're doing. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's again another interesting what probably for some people would be a very difficult process to navigate, especially as your spouse. It'd be one thing if it was a brother or a sister or a cousin or.
I will say so our dad started the company, but our mom, hi mom, she works
Love you,
for the
Mom.
company too. She's our CFO. So we do see a married couple in the company, and we've seen those struggles,
Oh yeah.
the good, the bad, and the ugly. So
Oh yeah. I mean, I often call my husband, and I used to call him my consultant. He's a coach.
okay.
So now I call him a coach now because consultant's not as cool as coach anymore. But now today we want to call him coaches, right? But, I think it's interesting that you guys had this plan because at this point that we have a very similar plan. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else's spouse is getting in, but I think before we understood where we were going, he was already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, funny, you're kind of
Yeah, he was
you're in.
You're in.
he was a part of it
Yeah.
Right.
by association.
Right. But we even think about like the kids. How are we going to get them in the business? And if they don't want to be in the business, how do we still take what we're building and make sure that everyone has what they need in the end?
Try and make it equitable.
Yeah.
We literally
Yes.
navigated that exact same thing.
It's
sort of
a
worked that
really-
into our.
Tough questions too, because they're things that you maybe don't want to think about, but
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah, like your
Right.
kid not wanting to carry on the legacy of your
Right.
family. I mean, that's a
Right.
big item right there. Just a child not wanting to be Gen 3 or carry on the
And it
family business,
happens.
which I understand
Yeah.
sometimes.
In businesses, right? It does happen. In fact, I've got I have a client of mine that's been with me probably over 10 years, and it was a family business, but none of the kids wanted to take it over.
Yeah.
Now they were able to find someone to come in and do it who's amazing. So it all worked out in the end, but I'm sure to your point, what you guys are saying, and I'm sure to how I would feel about the situation if my kids were like
A little bit heartbreaking,
Yeah.
I would imagine.
a little bit, but it doesn't mean it can't live on, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
That's
we'll-
why we
that's
try to
perspective.
just keep having fun to
Yes.
show the kids, look how fun our work
Yeah.
is. You want to come
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to love it.
Well, so that's where I'm curious. Have you guys had the you said you were working, but I saw you at Epic Universe conversation with your kids yet?
Not yet, because they're still a little young to realize that, but I'm sure down the road it'll.
Oh, it's going to happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure because Kyle's being the oldest, obviously has the oldest kids. And I'm sure with Wyatt, at a certain point, he's going to either see or hear of somewhere cool that dad's at
I
and
think
wonder
a
what in
good
the world.
Foray will be just as you've done. Bring the kids to IAPA, get them involved in that, and
Yeah, I mean, they're already
experiencing
so
it.
immersed in the day to day, and then they get to, already tagging along to some of the places, Mexico and other places where we do business. So I think they've already kind of been like eased into a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that's funny along those lines is just like the nuance of travel and just sort of some of the luxuries that you have as being a seasoned traveler. And like we were talking about the other day, our kids are only going to know what like the Admirals Club lounge experience is like and potentially getting a free upgrade to first class. And they'll never know like what a true blue flying experience is like. We just kind of laugh about that, and then being potentially spoiled and a little bit tainted in what traveling might be like early on, because we do get to reap some of those benefits of being, seasoned travelers.
No, I love that. All of this resonates with me because my daughter, the first time the first time she went to London, we rode first class to Denver.
Yeah.
And afterwards, my husband's like, well, do you think we're spoiling her? I'm like, no, she's going to know exactly like how it should be.
what she wants to work
Right.
for.
Yeah, strive for it.
Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to go back.
Show 'em what you can do with
and I
hard
can't
work. Oh, I
remember
know.
which celebrity said, like, go first class and you're never going to want to go back, right? So you'll
Exactly.
work harder to go
maintain that.
and maintain that. Yeah. Which is really, so I was like, no, that's just how it's supposed to be. Like,
exactly.
So she knows how it's supposed to be. So I thought that was, I think it's funny. And I appreciate that you guys do that for your kids and let them have those experiences. And
Yeah. But sooner or later, they'll sit in the back while we write.
Yeah, well, we're up front. That's perfect.
Just wave at them as they walk by. I always do that when, American Airlines we're dedicated to, for better or worse. And I'm executive platinum, and you get throw that one out there. You get free upgrades, and it's always humbling when you get a free upgrade on one segment of the flight, and then the next flight you got to go back to the main cabin, and it's like,
yeah, I've been there.
crap.
I've been there. So
It's humbling.
It is humbling, and then it makes you want to work harder.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
That's the way I see it every time. I'm like, okay, I got to work harder, so
working.
I never have to come back here. But that just is all part of like this experience of running your own business, and I think it's so cool that you guys are running a 30-plus-year-old company with your family.
Yeah.
And one of the things that a lot of people don't like talking about in business, but you guys have been very open about it and willing to share, is failures. That is something that, failing forward is a reality of a lot of businesses, a lot of people in business, because I know some of the people listening or watching this podcast, they're not necessarily ready for that failure, but I think it's important that people like us share that this is going to happen.
Yeah. I don't
And
think you're
what that
ever
looks like.
ready for a failure.
No.
But they happen, just as you said. And I mean, one of the most prominent failures in my mind that we've had happened long into the established company history. We had a product called Clear Lounge. It's an underwater oxygen bar. It was using our Sea Trek helmets. You went into this freestanding aquarium, and you're breathing enriched oxygen that you got to pick an aromatherapy scent for. So it was a really cool way to take an oxygen bar underwater. And while you're underwater, we had a photo booth and games, and you could shoot these cool, we call them bubble pulse guns. They shoot a high-speed O-ring underwater. So all kinds of activities. People loved the experience, which that part hurts my heart a little bit because it was such a cool experience and people had fun. But where our first one was established was just the wrong location. Yeah. It had the foot traffic, but it was transient foot traffic. The people going by already had a destination, a tour booked somewhere else to be. They may stop and look at the Clear Lounge, but they didn't have the time to stop and actually do it. And so I don't even know how long it lasted, a year or two in. It just, the business wasn't.
About four years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. 4 years of,
a pain,
really,
struggle.
really painfully trying to, do everything we could to nurture that along.
Yeah, trying new marketing
exactly.
ideas, package tours, trying everything that we could think of, and it didn't happen.
It all boiled down to product placement.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And that hurt. That one definitely hurt.
It was our very first one, our baby. Yeah. We were so excited. It was a new take.
It's a huge
on
investment. It's a substantial investment.
But, out of it, one, we learned a lot of lessons from that. Location is such a paramount when putting a new product somewhere. And two, Keenan and I were talking about this earlier. For that product, we used, so our Sea Trek helmets are traditionally white, if you've seen it or done it. But we, for Clear Lounge, made a very special helmet that was clear. It fit the brand. It was a completely clear helmet. It was super cool.
Differentiated the product from Sea Trek as well.
Yeah, and that ended up being the helmet that Netflix saw when they were looking for something for Stranger Things. So, everything happens for a reason, and that ended up coming down. It provided a new opportunity for us in the long run.
Yeah, that's how you try and, again, fail forward, try and gain some perspective about that failure, especially looking back on it. And find as many of the positives that you can to either learn from or just find hope from. And like Hannah said, with Stranger Things, we were included in the first and the last season. And I was just checking recently on just the viewership alone for the 5th season, even the short time we were in it, there was over 8.2 billion minutes viewed.
Wow.
Staggering numbers.
So, it's hard to quantify what that reach was just by seeing our product and the association of it in the show itself.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's just one takeaway from, what otherwise was a failure. But, to be able to reflect on that and see the positives that came out of that failure. Again, I think that kind of surmises failing forward, and finding that perspective in. I think perspective is so important, especially when you're failing.
It also gave us experience in building a modular setup, and we've actually taken ideas from that setup and we're now implementing them in different ways, but for other businesses that are successful and it's working out really well for them. So all these little things that you learn when you're in the moment, man, you can get down on yourself, but in the future you look back and think, okay, well, I grew from that.
I mean, and I'm sure you've been through similar situations too, but you think about our industry and different rides and innovations, and I would argue that more often than not, a lot of companies, not just in our industry, but across all industries, when they have failures or products fail or innovations or whatever they may be, a lot of them close that folder and do everything they can to burn it, shred it, and never look back on it.
Yeah.
And I think that is all boils down to, again, perspective on it, and just sort of your mentality as a business, and our leadership. And I think being able to really boil that down to what can we take from this? What can we build off of it? Obviously, how can we work not to make those mistakes again? Of course, that's sort of paramount. So again, I think it really is important to be a little bit more raw and open with failures. And
I
just,
agree.
I mean, I could go onto a real soapbox with this, but I just feel like the younger generation now, they don't know what failure is. And I feel like there's a lot of...
Especially because they're so immersed online and you're only seeing the perfect side of what people show on Instagram and X.
We are insulated by technology. And while there obviously are so many benefits to technology, and I could go down a rabbit hole about how I don't want to conform to AI, and Hannah's working on getting me set up with a ChatGPT account. I feel like, especially our youth, but I mean, even older, I mean, we see our parents and people that just doom scroll endlessly on TikTok and things like that. I mean, people are lacking real world experience now. We see that in the younger generation's lack of ability to communicate face to face with others. I mean, you can boil this down to a lot of different things, but I do think that our younger generation is lacking that just real world experience and real world failure.
Yeah.
And the inability to fail first and foremost, just by getting out there and getting experience and trying things. And then, like we're talking about right now, failing forward, learning to fail forward.
And talk about it.
And talk about it. Talk about it. Yeah. And I want to shake every young person that I see, younger than me. Obviously, I know I technically probably still qualify as a young person to a lot of people. And just try and bring that out of them to just get out there, take some action.
Get out there. Yeah.
Do something that you're uncomfortable with. And again, I credit so much of that to our parents, both mom and dad, both being like super supportive, but letting us go out there and make a ton of mistakes and fail, while also being in the background, being super supportive as parents, but letting us make those mistakes and fail. And just continue to encourage the fact that, we're not going to be here to hold your hand through it. You have to learn to figure these things out. Mm-hmm. There's so much hand holding, I feel like, that's going on right now. And the technology just doesn't help it, in my opinion, in so many ways. Where it does help in a number of ways to help, optimize people's experience and ability to grow. I feel like it's also sheltering a lot of people from that growth, the real world growth.
Yeah, I think like what's so interesting about this conversation for me is, one, because you guys are in this business that's been around for so many years, like mine, I think you might have 10 years or so on me, on our business.
Maybe this old guy.
But, what I think is interesting is there's a lot, to your point, with the younger generation and even just in general. I mean, I can tell you, like, I've been Kunayapa for almost 30 years, right? And seeing different people show up. But if I'm being honest about myself and my business, it's been through several iterations. Yeah. Not only because of failure, because listen, if you're in a family business, and while my founder was not family, he was family. Yeah. I mean, he gave me an opportunity that somebody who cares about you would do, right? And want to see you succeed. Yeah. I mean, he's family. And my kids call him Uncle Steve. So, I mean, he's family,
Sondra,
right?
family.
Yeah. But when I, we're just not blood, but we're family. Yeah. But at the same time, I think about like how many different iterations our business has had over the years, and not just in products, because like you being inventors and having to create the next generation of products that you have, we've had a very similar experience. But I feel like the business has become different versions of itself.
Yeah.
I've become different versions of myself. Most people don't stick around somewhere long enough to see that happen.
Do you ever go back and see an email from 10 or 15 years ago and be like, I wrote that? Why? Why would I write that?
I just looked at the first few shows I did.
Yeah.
For Live with Sondra, and I'm like, they're cringe. There's just no nice way of saying that, right? But, you have to be, kind of to your point, you have to be okay with beginning. Mm-hmm. And you have to be okay with starting. You have to be okay with failing. And one of the things that I really love about my mentor and our founder, who is family to me, he always...
Steve.
Yeah, Steve. He's awesome. He would always be okay with me failing so long as I was able to take responsibility for that and get better. Because that's all you can really ask of people. Yeah. And I think that's what's so beautiful about being in business for a long time, for generations, and then watching the people you care the most about grow alongside the business, right?
Yeah.
And it's so cool to just kind of hear that mirrored in the two of you. I wish Tiff was here.
I honestly really do too.
I was like, wait a second, where is she right now? Like,
I wish Kyle was here too.
Yeah.
Next time we'll do the full trio.
Yeah.
Because he adds a...
Kyle is our comedic quick wit. He keeps us laughing always.
Kyle's got one-liners just stored in a...
Is Kyle the oldest?
He's the oldest.
Closet with skeletons and other things that he probably shouldn't say out loud, but man,
he's so funny.
I feel like that's how Tiffany would describe me. But I love that. Well, I love all of this. And even like, I feel like I can say this to you guys, even with my kids, when we chose a private school for them, we chose a school where there was no homework. Right?
Okay, yeah.
That they were free to learn and fail and do the things that they wanted to do. And my kids have been, at least my oldest has been coming with me to a lot of IAPA networking events. So she's showing up at these events, but she's been around this for so long.
Yeah.
But also like, just for me, even with the education that they had, I wanted them to be able to have those experiences you were talking about that so many young people don't get to have today. And also, I didn't want to have to do homework after a long day of work or, I'm sure like me, you guys probably have 80, 100-hour work weeks sometimes. Yeah. So how do you do homework and still keep the peace in your family, right? That was a hard one for me.
Yeah. Bless my husband. We've divvied up the work. He takes the math and sciences, and then I do the language arts and the readings. That's how
what am I going to take on? Let me take you through the school of hard.
It's hard. I know.
It's hard. Well, because my husband and I are both in the business, so it was like, okay, we got to find a school where there's no homework.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to be together with our kids,
yes.
not working more, if that makes sense. We really had to decide how we spent our time.
It does, yeah.
That's
and I'm
so
sure,
important.
Just as you shared your kids going to IAPA, you're giving them other experiences that they can learn from in the real world. And as our kids get older, I see each one of us doing that with our own kids, taking them out to these events and traveling with us and giving them a different education.
Yeah. It's really cool that you guys include them in so much. And
well, I think like you said, it's just so important that you want to be present for your kids. And we're obviously, I would say we're super lucky, just like you talked about with Tiffany and balancing schedules with each other and helping out with kids and schedules and things like that. I think obviously we're really lucky in that regard. But, it affords you that time to be able to be present with your kids. But at the same time, you have to, that has to be front of mind, I think, for everybody.
You have to consciously turn it off because you can definitely get sucked into, let me just check this one more email. Let me just send this one more WhatsApp
We're guilty of that
message.
so often. And we all watch our kids grow up so fast. Mine are so young, but still just in the last few years, I'm preaching to the choir. You just watch it happen so fast. And I think, again, just in helping our youth more, we need parents that want to be more present too. So we have to work together as a family. Again, we're super, super lucky to be able to work together as a family and have that latitude to be able to work together with each other and lean on each other so that we can be present for our kids and help maybe to foster that next generation.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Without pushing it.
Without pushing it, but
I don't want to push it, but
you know what?
Maybe we'll push it a little.
I don't even have to ask, and sometimes my kids will have the best idea on something I'm trying to solve. So it's just, you never know what's going to happen to including them in things. And yeah, maybe they don't want to take over the company, but they might still be able to contribute in a way that makes sense for them, right? So,
do you see your kids coming on full, or?
I mean, my youngest for sure says he is.
Okay.
Like, so it's kind of.
He's like, Mom, I'm gonna have your job.
Yeah, right.
And and when people ask me, like, I remember even being a kid, so I've always been interested in business. Now, whether or not I thought I was going to go into tech, I didn't know that as a kid, but I also grew up when there was no tech, right? So there was no technology. So I forgive myself for that, but when other people would be playing house with their friends, I'd be like, the businesswoman. And I had I owned all the businesses and everybody always thought that was weird, but that made sense, right? For me, now it makes sense. And so my youngest is very much into the business and making contributions. And I do think it's important, for any family business listening to this, you've got to let kids help.
Yeah.
So they don't feel like you're just gone.
Right.
And that they don't matter in the equation of this business. Because that's one of the things I learned was that if I'm going to leave my kids for 3 months out of the year, which is what my Marriott app says I'm spending
Isn't that crazy?
in a hotel room, right?
We're in a very similar.
Yeah. I want them to know that I'm not leaving them. I'm going off on this awesome mission of helping other families have incredible times and make memories and all the things that are important to them. But they're helping me too, because there are contributions that they can make at their age.
Yeah. We recently are developing a new product called Snorkel Drift, and it's a towed snorkel ride system, and we wanted to test out an element of the product. And so we went to our local lake, and I brought my son with me, and I was with my dad. So we had 3 generations, and we were all in the lake testing the new product. On our family boat. And so my son just felt so special that he got to be involved in testing the very first and telling me what he thought. I was asking him questions. How did it feel? What did you think? How could we change it to make it better for a child of your size,
Yeah.
So it made him feel special and important and involved.
And that's a spark.
That.
That's a spark right there.
Yeah.
Well, my youngest Billy, he's my personal assistant.
Love that.
He actually tells people that that's his job.
That's great.
And he does.
Have a LinkedIn page.
He doesn't have a LinkedIn page yet, but he definitely tells his brother and sister, I'm the personal assistant.
Yes.
I'll take care of that.
Yes.
So I love that.
Mom, your bags, I got them.
I love this. I love this conversation so much because it just hits so much home for me and heart, right? This is, it's really neat being in a business. And like I said, a lot of people don't get to see businesses grow like this for generations. So I really appreciate you guys sharing your story. Before I let you know, I got to know, because there is some of the best hair on this show right now that I think I'm
that hair right here.
That I'm ever going to
Yeah, we all
have on this show, I think.
As the kids say, I think we're all kind of a vibe.
we're a vibe, but I got to know, is the mullet, is it a mindset?
I feel like it might be almost too much a part of my identity now, Sondra, to the point where my wife's like, do you think you'll ever cut it off? And I always say, well, when my daughter tells me, then I will. If she asks me to cut it off. And actually just the other day, I think I was telling you, I was just joking, and I told my daughter, I said, hey, do you want Daddy to cut his hair? And she goes, yeah. I was like, all right, so maybe you're not going to make the decision right now. It was, I believe it or not, I've had a mullet on and off since 2013.
A long time.
And it was
It's
a
identity.
It was a rugby thing.
Yeah.
That's what I would tell people that I talked up to, and then I retired and stopped playing rugby, and I realized that I can't say that anymore. And yeah, I feel like honestly, it's just kind of a bit of my identity. I don't know what my neck would look like without this.
Nice little tan line.
And I'll go like this and joke around to my wife, and she's like, "What?"
But we always joke at shows. Someone will come to the booth and be like, "Oh yeah, your meeting's the one with the mullet over there, or the one with the curly red hair." So they're nice identifiers.
I will do anything to help draw attention to my family and our business.
Oh, believe me, I have a white. This is my hair. This is not dyed. And I always laugh and say that when I retire, I'm dyeing it. Because I can't dye it now because nobody would be able to find me. Yeah. That's how people find me. But I love it. I love that it's, business in the front, global operations in the back.
There you go.
Sondra, I'm taking that with me. I am taking that one with me.
I like it.
And I just really appreciate this conversation with the two of you. Thank you so much for coming here and being.
Thank you.
And any last thoughts, before we wrap this up? Because this has been really fun. I could keep going forever.
I know. I feel like
I really didn't want it to end, but oh gosh, I think if there's something that anybody can take away from this, just complete broad stroke, broad spectrum, not a part of a family business, I think is that resilience is probably one of the most important things, in my opinion, in business. And I think one of the biggest ways that you can become more resilient, for anyone listening, is perspective. I think having and understanding a greater perspective and being able to take a step back and looking at little issues or little ups and downs in your life with a little bit broader spectrum, a little bit broader view, I think can help people a lot more in personal life and business, emotionally, psychologically, you name it. I think perspective is one thing that's taught me a lot. In our business personally, you name it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
I think you touched on too, and you said more for the younger generation, but I think it applies to any age group, is getting out of your comfort zone and trying something new. We can get so comfortable in our life and our routine, and you don't grow unless you try something that is uncomfortable to you that you've never done before.
Yeah.
And we were raised that way. Our dad always pushed us to do new and crazy things, and I think we've carried it on in our own personal growth, and we're now doing it with our children too, encouraging them to get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I love that, because also I think in family business, you have to be, in general, human beings need to be okay with being new and beginning, and that's scary for everybody. But there is something really nice about doing that with people who love you.
Yes.
Because you're going to get the real feedback.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, and you're going to get the pressure that nobody else is going to get.
And you know what? Your success, your growth is my success, and vice versa. And you can't get that unless you're in a family business.
I'm running through a brick wall for you every dang day.
Well, thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Sondra.
Thanks for the conversation.